This episode of SuperCarlinBrothers is brought to you by Loot Crate.
Hey, brother!
And welcome to another SuperCarlinBrothers movie review. Now, the latest Spider-Man movie, Into The Spiderverse, just came out.
Yeah, and it's kind of different. Like, the entire animation of the movie is just comic bookified.
It is super interesting to watch.
Yeah.
But the real question is it the best Spider-Man movie ever?
Guys, before we get started, we have to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Loot Crate.
Yeah, this was last month's box, and if you want to see what was inside of it, just make sure you stick around at the end of the video. Okay.
Guys, before we get started, there will be spoilers for Into the Spider-Verse coming up basically now.
You've been warned. Man, okay, so, Into the Spider-Verse, what did you think? What did you think going in? Because, like, even the advertising, I was like, I have no idea what to think.
I had no idea what to think. I thought the style of animation for this looked awesome.
Right.
As an idea. Almost like a Pixar short type of thing, where it's like, oh, it's so cool how they played with that concept. I was really worried how it would come across in the film, and I will say point blank that this is not a movie that solely based on the previews was I'm seeing that for sure.
Right. So my thought, when I saw it was, I'm not sure if you've ever noticed, on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, every now and then I'll get a suggestion for a movie from DC, an animated movie.
Okay.
That they've basically just produced a movie and it's just available via streaming or DVD or something.
Right.
But it's not a feature length. It is a feature length movie, but it's just animated. It's not theatrical release. But there's Flashpoint or Teen Titans or The Killing Joke or whatever. And sometimes they'll make a little bit of noise out there and you're like, oh, I should see that. But every time I watch them, I'm like, yeah, all right. I was like, okay.
It was fine.
Yeah, it was fine.
It's what used to be Disney sequels, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
The straight to DVD, the Lion King 1.5. It's it's maybe I'm making a bunch of Lion King 1.5 fans mad right now, but in general, it usually felt more like a cash grab. Typically they didn't get the original cast back, and it wasn't in theaters. It wasn't supposed to be critically acclaimed or anything.
Right. But I like what you said about this feeling experimental, because that's exactly what it was. It was let's do this experimental thing, but rather than running a test or anything, we'll just feature length it. Let's just go for it.
Make the whole thing
big.
Basically like you're reading a comic book.
It really is, too.
Yeah, and I would say that the execution on the animation and the number of different creative ways that they kept you inside the comic book were amazing.
Yeah.
From text bubbles to narrations.
Oh, dude, the text bubbles, that's such a tricky line to when are you using text bubbles? But they nail it. I thought,
no, absolutely.
He every time he is thinking too hard or his thoughts get out of control, the little text bubbles pop up, and it's you sort of understand what the text bubbles mean and how he's interpreting them inside of his brain, but then it also happens to make what you're looking at more like a comic book.
Right. And the cool thing about it, and I was thinking this, if every single moment that they included a comic book element, if that became a single frame, would you be able to read this as a comic book and for all of it to make sense?
Ooh, that's interesting.
They're feeding us a lot of the middle territory type stuff so that you can obviously get the full picture of the plot.
Right.
But the idea behind a comic book is that the very nature of it is that they're kind of short reads. It's not a lengthy story. It's kind of
typically.
These are the high points of everything that happened.
I would bet that you probably couldn't just line up anything with text bubbles and make a coherent comic out of the movie, but I would also bet that you can find specific comic panels that are exactly replicated.
Oh, sure.
In the movie.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, so all in all, I thought it was executed incredibly well. I will say that the only comment that I had about it, and I'm not even going to call it a complaint, is there was a few moments in the movie where it felt like I should be wearing 3D glasses.
I had that exact thought. When you get in there, it takes, the style is so different that it takes some getting used to, and I don't know, specifically how they animated it, but I guess the way you make a comic book, or maybe the way they used to anyway, was with this dot matrix printer, and you'd print one color, and then you'd print the next layer of color on top of it. And so it would sort of create this weird, like, if something was like a little bit off, it would sort of look like you needed 3D glasses to be looking at it.
Had like a fuzzy effect about it. It's basically the same exact idea as how like a 3D printer works, where you're making it like one layer at a time, except you're stacking it until it forms into whatever. That's how comics used to be printed, and that is how they showed it to you. And there were even a couple of times where they would take the camera almost like into the frame, and you could see the dots like lined up.
Right.
Which was kind of cool.
It was cool. I liked that a lot.
Yeah.
So overall, style, good, bad?
Amazing. No, amazing. I thought that this was incredibly well executed. I do think that it opens the door for this style of film with other heroes.
I would bet so.
Yeah. It would be cool to see it basically, like I said, open the door into this world where all of a sudden we can have this whole new collection, a whole new universe that we get to live inside of.
Well, there's already so many universes in this one movie.
Oh, that's what's going to make our job so fun.
Oh, I know, right? Yeah.
It's like how is that possible? Different universe. Solves everything.
Okay, so let's see. I guess let's talk. What were your overall impressions, not just of the animation then, but of just the movie? Like, you walk out of the theater, how are you feeling?
Okay, so I loved the movie. I thought that it nailed it. The thing that I always think about when watching a movie, or especially reflecting on my experience, is whether or not at any point in time I thought about anything else outside of the theater.
Oh,
like at any point in time I was like, well, how much longer do we have? What else do we still have to do today? Like, at any point did I check out of the movie and start checking into like my daily checklist or whatever in the back of my mind?
Right.
At no point in time did that happen.
So you were completely enthralled.
I was completely enthralled, completely entertained. The thing that I know about myself was that at the end of the movie, Jordan, our office manager, like, it goes off, credits roll, it's all quiet. She turns and goes, "Best Marvel movie ever." And the only thing I can tell you is that I, to my core, disagreed with that.
Okay. Interesting.
And so, like,
I would agree with that too. I don't think it's the best Marvel movie ever.
Right. And so I think it was interesting because my very first reaction was like, no, we can't go that far with it.
Like, you got like prompted in almost like an unfair way.
Yeah. Right. It's like we just compared it to something, and for me it would be like Infinity War, Black Panther territory of film, where it's like, I don't think it's there, but I loved it.
Yeah, I did. I agree. I thought it was very, very good. So I think when you're watching it, you mentioned like whether or not you think about other stuff.
Yes.
I think specifically because this movie like draws on what the movie knows you, the audience's experience with Spider-Man in movies is.
Sure.
It's hard not to think about the other Spider-Man movies.
Okay, well, that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. But I would say that would congeal.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, with the experience.
But so I think it's interesting then because all the other Spider-Man movies are live action.
Okay.
And so I think this is one of the big challenges the movie had was like animated versus live action, because I think there are like real pros and cons to each.
Okay.
Like, when you have an animated movie like this one, for example, you can keep the characters in costume way longer.
Oh,
like,
right.
You can have Spider-Man on screen so much more than if you have like Tobey Maguire cast in the movie, because Tobey Maguire wants FaceTime.
Oh, because his agent argued for 50% of the movie for him to be visual. Like, yeah,
exactly. It's like, I always call that like the Power Ranger effect, because they have full body costumes and anyone could be in there.
Right.
So I think there's that, and I love when you get to see the characters in costume more. So that's always a positive. I also think the villains, you can go. In particular, they used it on the villains in here. They can go so big and so crazy, and it not really like tear down your suspension of disbelief.
Right.
Like the Green Goblin and Kingpin, and like they are outrageously different looking than I've ever seen.
Yes.
Yeah, but they totally are allowed to get away with it because it's all animated, and it's just that just looks normal. It like fits the style.
Kingpin to me was like case in point of this, because like Green Goblin, hypothetically, if you wanted to have like a giant Godzilla-like character, like our film industry is capable of accomplishing that.
Right.
But Kingpin actually weirdly isn't. Because it's just barely, like, he's a person.
Right.
But he's huge.
Yeah, it's like he doesn't really have a superpower other than being outrageously big.
Right, but like, yeah, so like he has power over everybody else in the room, you know, and he does have some amount of physical power, even if it's not like superpower. But with that, who do you cast to play him and get to show him that big?
Right, like you almost can't believably in a live action movie.
You can't, yeah. And I will say that like Kingpin in the Daredevil Netflix series, I thought was brilliant.
Oh.
Or Fisk.
Fisk,
yeah. Same character.
Same character. And I think they do a pretty good job with him here. Like, they add a few, I don't know, Kingpin is becoming, I feel like, a general fan favorite villain.
Yeah.
Sort of almost like out of nowhere a little. Like, because probably of the Daredevil Netflix series, but like one of the best villains out there. And then they add that element into him here too, where he's like really motivated by like trying to get his wife and kid back. I guess.
Right. So he's got, and that was exactly what it was with the Daredevil series, where you understood him as a character. Like his motives were clear and relatable, and it was like, okay. And I think that they did the same thing here. Yeah, like I don't know that I felt like there was as much of his origin story to the point where you like are super invested in this happy little family he had once upon a time.
No, I don't think so, but I think it would have been just as easy for them to not give him any background, and you're just like, oh, he's just an evil guy making an evil thing because he's evil.
Token villain.
Token villain. And so I really appreciate that they added in just there's like 2 or 3 little scenes where you can like see the human aspect of him like leak through, and you're like, okay, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like, his motives are okay. Although, honestly, I didn't think they made super sense. Like, his wife and child died, so we basically wanted to bring in them from another dimension. But it's like, that's not them, though?
Although, you want to know what would be interesting about that is that you could potentially end up having him, like Wilson Fisk, from a different generation than at war with this one.
Oh, Kingpin v. Kingpin.
Yeah, which would be kind of cool.
That would be really cool, because then you could see, like, those two are the ones fighting, and, like, it's Spider-Man just trying to, like,
right. Yeah. Like, he's involved somehow, obviously, but, like, really the fight's between those two. So I feel like we have to dive into the characters, though.
Okay, like the actual spider people.
Right, because the trailers to this movie led me to believe that we were going to have 6 main characters.
That is what it looks like. Like, you're going to have, 6 different Spider-Men, and they're all sort of going to have their own little character arc, and
I would argue
come together.
You have 3.
I would argue you have 3, and really you have, like, 2.
Right. Yeah, you have 2 with Gwen. Would you say Gwen?
Oh, no, I wasn't. I was going to say Peter B. Parker.
Oh, no way!
Okay, so maybe 3. We'll give it a 3.
Okay, that's funny. So I would have thought Peter B. Parker and Miles were the 2 mains.
Yeah, that's what I would say.
Oh, okay. Then we're on the same page.
We're on the same page. Okay. Yeah, so really, you definitely have like a hierarchy of spider people in this one. Like, Miles is the clear main character, and then you sort of have Peter B. Parker and Gwen down like 1 tier, and then the other 3 are sort of like, down maybe 2.
I think more than 2 even. Yeah. Like, it's one of these things like where they had, Nick Cage playing the Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah.
Like, which people have their opinions about him. I thought he was great.
Dude, yeah, I thought Nicolas Cage, it was like, even when I saw the casting, I was like, yeah, that's perfect.
Right, yeah.
That's great. Like, I know other people disagreed, but I thought he did a really good job.
I thought he did a good job for, like, maybe the 9 things that he said.
Yeah, but it's like, Nicolas Cage is the perfect person to play, like, an over-serious character whose purpose is comic relief.
Right,
yeah.
Right, exactly.
It's like, what's funny is how serious he is.
Right. Like, takes it too far.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say if we wanted to start with those bottom 3.
Okay, so we have the bottom 3 being Spider-Ham, Penny Parker, and Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah. I would say out of those, I would rank them Spider-Man Noir, Porky,
Peter Porker.
Peter Porker, and then Penny Parker. Penny, honestly, like, could have just not even been in the movie.
Pretty much. So you meet all of these 3 characters at the same time, and it seems like hers is the most confusing origin story.
Yeah.
And they play it at the same time as the other 2, and so it's really hard to, like, even follow what her set of powers is. I think it's like she has a psychic link with the spider who's in the robot, I think.
But then like when the robot goes down, she's like upset about the robot going down, even though like the spider
is still alive. Like,
right?
Can you not just And she like makes fun of Miles for not having any like technological prowess.
Right.
Like, can't you just make another robot? You seem pretty good at the technology.
That seems like it's your wheelhouse there.
Yeah, I felt no sentiment or emotional connection with Penny Parker at all. When her robot died, I was like, whatever.
Oh, right, yeah. Like, it totally felt like a replaceable thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like with like Baymax out there as like a lovable robot that could also be replaced.
Right.
Believe you me, there is a way to make you have tears come out of your face when a robot dies.
There is a way.
Yes.
And this one in particular didn't do it. It felt like she was basically there, so they had a believable character to recreate the little hard drive.
Yeah,
or the goober.
The goober.
I call it a goober.
I loved that, like, that was one of the things where he, like, introduces it, and for the rest of the movie, everyone else just calls it a goober.
Yeah, right. I love that, too. That was pretty fun. All right, so Spider-Ham.
Spider-Ham.
Yeah.
Again, you know, like, I felt like he had a couple of one-liners that they used in the trailers.
Yeah, he was good marketing material.
He was great marketing material, and I think that that's one of those where I honestly thought that this character was something that The Simpsons made up.
Oh, right.
So, for me...
Me too.
For me, it was kind of interesting because that was, as far as I knew, the origin story was Homer Simpson putting a Spider-Man outfit on a pig and holding
it up
to the
singing
ceiling.
a little song. But no, it's like from the 70s or something.
It's like a
really
real
old
thing.
character. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was... I thought he was funny, but I don't have a whole lot else to say.
Yeah. He had a few one-liners, and that's pretty much it. I thought he was funny.
Can animals talk in this universe? I don't want to freak him out.
Yeah, I love when he hands him the hammer at the end. He's like, I want you to have this. It'll fit in your pocket.
That was good.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah. It's man. Will it? Will it if you're not the one holding it? Yeah.
That's pretty funny. Yeah. There is a good, strong possibility, and I will leave this character at, I think once I've seen this movie several more times, which I fully intend to, he may end up being like one of the most quotable.
Oh, for sure. He's very quotable.
Yeah.
It would not surprise me too. We mentioned like, are we opening the door for more movies like this? It would not surprise me, in particular, if we get a standalone movie for Spider-Gwen and for Spider-Ham.
Yeah.
In particular.
I could totally see that.
Yeah.
So we talked about Spider-Man Noir. Anything else to say on him?
I loved the Rubik's Cube.
Rubik's Cube!
That was so funny. He's like, what is this? They're like, is this the same color? Like, he's black and white. I liked how their different animations stayed, like their style of animation stayed consistent even in the new universe.
Right, like it didn't morph to fit the new universe that it was in. Yeah, that was really funny. And then like at the end he's like, I'm taking this with me.
Yeah. So my only other real comment about those three in particular is that I wish we'd gotten a little more like solo fight time with them at least.
Sure.
So you could see, I don't know, how each of them fought differently or was cool. Like you get a very little, but there's a scene at Aunt May's house where all the villains show up and there's like this big group fight and you're like, oh, okay, cool. And you think you're gonna like cut away and see like, oh, Spider-Ham get into a tight spot and then, you know, worm his way out and ditto for the other characters. And that doesn't really happen. They'll just sort of like jump into action and then they just focus on Miles the whole time.
Yeah, which was kind of strange.
Yeah, and I was like, I want to see the other spider people fight. Come on.
Right. And I guess that's what it comes down to, just like where we're talking the characters specifically, is that you have to imagine during the like development of this movie, there's a conversation about each of the characters that they decide to put on all the marketing for everything. It's like, how does this character affect the plot? How does this character affect the plot? Why did we pick, you know, this one to be in there? Because there are so many. And I guess that's where maybe it seemed like some of these lower echelon characters fell a little flat, where like they didn't give them a super specific purpose.
Yeah, they don't really have an arc. They just sort of like fill out the idea of the Spider-Verse.
Exactly. Yeah.
But to that end, I will say one of the things I loved about this movie is how they keep introducing each new character and they're like, okay, here we go. I am the one and only Spider-Man. And they like sort of show, there's always, to me, and I love this, that like, they sort of like establish the rules for what makes you Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So I wrote down a few, like, basically, if you're gonna be a new writer, and they're like, you get to make Spider-Man Universe Earth 7092, go. What's this version? It's like, okay, it doesn't really matter what you do with the character, but 1, basically must be bitten by a radioactive spider.
Right.
2, must have a relationship with Mary Jane and or Gwen.
Okay.
His main enemy, Norman Osborn. Someone must die to motivate him with great power comes great responsibility.
Right.
And then Aunt May is present. Because, like, that's sort of, like, when they all get there, they'll just go to Aunt May's. Like, they all just know.
It's like the common thread across everybody.
It's like, you're not Spider-Man unless these things happen.
Although,
basically.
What happened? Isn't Spider-Ham, didn't he get bit by a radioactive pig?
Yeah. He's a little, I even wrote down here, he must be written by a radioactive spider. So he started out as a spider and got bitten by a radioactive pig.
Sure.
Weird. Because, Looney Tunes. Or whatever. He even says that's all, folks.
Yeah, I know.
Did they say something? Someone's like, can he say that?
Oh, yeah.
Like, isn't that trademark?
It got like a little like Deadpool-y for like a split second.
Like a hot second. That was really funny. I loved the Porky Pig reference.
I like seeing this, and this is across like all film right now, where you can see filmmakers being a little more edgy with that line.
Yeah.
Where it's like, everybody is sort of in agreement that it's okay.
Well, I feel like because of Deadpool, all of a sudden, like, they say Deadpool, like, part of his character is that he always breaks the fourth wall. I feel like what he did was literally break the fourth wall.
Oh, right, right, yeah,
it's like, the audience is now part of all movies.
Yeah, exactly, which has been super fun.
Yeah.
Although I would argue Emperor's New Groove did it first. But,
plenty of other things.
Yeah,
break the fourth wall.
Sure.
For sure. There's no doubt. So, as far as the actual, like, plot then goes, like, there's lots of fun elements and lots of cool animation.
Yeah.
What's your take on the whole story?
Okay.
Of what happens in the movie?
Right. Like, how was Miles?
Yeah, how was Miles as Spider-Man?
It was, okay, so this was interesting. Before we hopped on to record this, you had made a comment about how you felt like the pacing of the movie was great and that you thought it was something that you thought was really good about it. This is one thing that I disagreed with.
Oh, really?
I thought it took a long time before he really started, like, picking it up and understanding. It's really not until the third act of the movie that he truly becomes even remotely anything other than a bystander.
Like, he was kind of in the way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think they played up like his inability to control the powers. Like, it seemed like eventually it sort of came into play where it was like, okay, he really needs to figure out how to, like, withdraw himself from the situation, be in control in order to be in control. But it felt like they just kept having his hands get stuck to stuff.
Yeah, like they used that trick a lot.
Yeah, like it seemed like there should have been other stuff. Like, if you're going to give him some amount of superhuman strength, like have him accidentally, like, throw a car over his shoulder or something, like where he's trying to use his strength, but because he doesn't even know how strong he is, it, like, even that is in the way of him being able to do anything effectively.
Right, sure.
So I think for that, it was sort of like, okay. But then otherwise, I thought he was a great character. I loved the, like, fact that he didn't tie his shoes. I like the fact that...
choice.
Yeah, it's a choice. He's kind of an edgy kid, but, like, in the safest way possible. Like, he likes his little, like, sticker graffiti marker.
Like, I'm not going to put graffiti on things. I'm going to put graffiti on sticky things and then stick those to things.
To things. Yeah. So I thought that was good because it was like an innocent kind of rebellion where it's not super over the top.
Right, like that's how the kid of a cop does graffiti.
Right,
like, I'm not really breaking the law. I'm supposed to stick ourselves like, man, no big deal.
Him, the relationship between him and his uncle, or Aaron Davis, I thought was, like, it's understandable because I think there's the idea of the uncle who gets to be just, like, the fun character in the child's life because they don't have to be the parent.
Well, he's like the Uncle Ben of Miles' story.
Sure.
Essentially.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's like the one he looks up to. I don't know. I felt like maybe Aaron was, like, a little bit just cool bachelor uncle.
No, okay, so when I first started, when we got, like, maybe through, like, the first act of the movie or so, I was starting to get a little bit of that feeling sometimes I get when, like, I'm really hyped for a movie and then I'm like, am I letting the hype for the movie control how happy I am right now, or or do I like, is there something wrong happening on screen?
Sure.
And then like sometimes it'll like take a week or so for that to like wear off, and me to be like, I think I've dissected exactly what I was feeling. And I was starting to feel that way at the beginning of this movie, where I'm like, I don't know about these writing decisions. Some of this is awfully lazy looking.
Sure.
But it comes full circle, and then I was like, oh! So like most of the time I'm like hoping for this like savior moment, like to like correct how I'm feeling, and that totally happens. Like it never does.
Right.
But they really lead you in. So like specifically, what I'm thinking is like when he gets bitten by the spider, I'm like, but like that's just so random. So what happens is his uncle takes him to this like cool unknown location underground, and like while he's there he just happens to get bit, and you're like, well, like, so what? Like, why are you special? Why do you get to be Spider-Man just because you happen to be doing graffiti here one day? And then it's like, oh, there's the Super Collider fight happening right here next to you. I guess that's cool. But then when you finally find out that Prowler, the villain, is actually Uncle Aaron, it's like, oh, now that like really completes the circuit for me, because it's like the reason he knows about the cool spot for the graffiti is because he's the villain and he's involved. That's why it's right next to this big thing happening. That's why the spider was right there. I guess they don't explain why there's a spider particularly, but honestly, presumably it's to do with what they're doing.
Right. It's like radioactive material is nearby. That's it. Honestly, that was one of the things I loved about Spider-Man Homecoming is there was no need. It was like, we get it.
Yeah, we know how you made Spider-Man.
Bit by a spider. Like, the story as to how the spider itself becomes radioactive is not that interesting. It's like,
yeah,
that's never going to be the compelling part of the story.
Right.
But no, you're absolutely, until you had framed it that way, I would have not looked at it in such a manner where it was like, yeah, like, it's just kind of lucky that he ends up being down there.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, wow, this kid who... Because that was the problem. It's like, this kid just gets bit with the spider the moment the other Spider-Man dies. Like, what? Like, how randomly convenient. And like that he happened to be there.
Right.
It's like, oh, but it's not random. It's explained just later.
Right.
Yeah. And there's even like little teasers that's the uncle. Like he like hops over the fence really quick, and you're like, ooh, wow, man, he was very athletic. My goodness.
Although I thought they had Miles unnecessarily bad at hopping a fence. Like at that age, you can lift your body weight.
Well, his backpack got stuck on the ceiling. Oh, okay. That's, he's like awkwardly like
he's about to like fall over.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
That's sure. I think what it was.
Yeah.
The other thing kind of like that was the Spider-Gwen reveal.
Yeah.
Later on, so like when he meets Gwen at school, and he like gets his hand stuck in her hair or whatever, and she has to like chop it all off. She like doesn't seem that concerned about it.
Sure.
Or like his hand's stuck there, and she's like, just let go, Miles, let go. Like it's not. She doesn't seem appropriately annoyed by what's happening.
Or even like if you're a high school student, this is the weirdest thing that could possibly happen to you.
Exactly.
It's like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But
then eventually you find out it's because she already knows he's a spider person.
Right.
And you don't know that she knows yet.
And I would say the one thing that they did with this, because there's like this multiple universe thing, like there's a Mary Jane in every universe or whatever. Right. So when you first meet Gwen as a student, you kind of just think that this universe's Gwen.
Right, exactly.
So, because we know, of course, that character goes on to be Spider-Gwen.
Yes.
But you just don't know that this one will be that.
Right, you don't know that she's from the other universe. So, like, I don't know, it's a cool reveal, and it's a cool little twist, because my thought was that, oh, there's this Gwen girl that Miles likes at school, and he's not going to know what to do with her. But then in will come Spider-Gwen, who I know from the trailers.
Right.
She'll sort of, like, give him a little, like, advantage and, like, give him the confidence, and then we'll end the movie, and he's like, hey, new girl, what's up?
Right.
You know?
That would, I think I would have liked that.
Yeah.
Because there was, like, a little bit of development between those two characters, and then she just leaves.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh,
it's kind of sad.
Dang.
Yeah. Oh, no. And it's like, even, I guess, for Miles, like, the Mary Jane of his world is already older than him and just lost her husband.
Yeah, so I have a feeling that's probably not going to be the pairing that we see happen.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
If there's a sequel, would not surprise me.
Okay, so here was the thing. I think the like the Peter B. Parker versus Peter Parker, who we see die.
Right.
I think when he is introduced, I was slightly thrown off by what was happening there, like, because I wasn't sure, like, oh, Peter Parker just didn't actually die.
Oh, I see.
At first.
I think that's why they did they made him significantly younger with the blonde hair.
Right, right. I don't know. I guess like that difference. Now that I knew watching it again, I'd be completely on pace with it. But I do think I had just like a brief moment of like, wait, so is he not dead?
Is he not? Yeah, is he just there? Is he at the grave? Is he like, hey kid, don't worry, I am gonna show you the ropes.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and so then, like Peter B. Parker comes in, and he's like a mega flawed character.
He is, dude. I think he's my favorite character in the movie, though.
Oh, really?
For sure. Like, I love his like. He's like so over Spider-Man, you know, like you can tell all the other characters, they all go through the exact same thing. Oh my god, I have spider powers. Oh my god, zip zap, I'm the best. This is so fun being Spider-Man. And he's just like, I'm like everything. He's like, whenever he encounters a problem, he's like everything about fighting it. It's like super effortless for him, but he's also just so bored.
Oh, right.
Like he's like, okay, whatever, zip zap, okay, oh, got it. You watch, he's gonna say, you've got 24 hours. You've got 24 hours. Like, classic Spider-Man. Okay, I'll be back.
right. No, that's so true. That's so true. This is something that I was underappreciating from the movie, is the fact that he is like, he's great at being Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's like he's phenomenal.
You think he's gonna be this deadbeat coming in though, because it's like, you know, he's put on a little extra weight, you know, he's kind of scruffy looking, like he doesn't really seem like your traditional hero at all.
Right.
But at the same rate, he can still 100% hold his own.
Right. So interesting. Okay, this is right when the Super Collider first goes off, and all the other spider people are coming in. They say there's like 4 or 5 breaches or whatever. So they show on the little radar screen like there's little like numbers next to each character coming in. So one of them is 616,
right?
Which is the main Marvel continuity.
Okay.
So that one is Peter B. Parker. So like that one is the one from the main series, like main universe comics. Which I think is like a weird Easter egg that you sort of have to know.
Oh, right. Like, no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think all of them were references to their respective comics.
Yes. So I think the way it works is, once upon a time, they made up the Spider-Verse. Right. And like Miles was the main character or whatever, and then they introduced all these characters, and then because they were popular in that, then they got spin-offs. Right. But this one, the Peter B. Parker one, is like the one from the main stories. Okay. He's just like a little bit older.
Got it. Yeah, so it makes sense. He would be the most experienced.
Yeah, he's like the best one. Except for maybe the Peter Parker who dies at the beginning.
Right.
Who is like the perfect Spider-Man.
Right.
He is like, he's like the one you know. Like what I don't know, like what Marvel wants the public to think of Spider-Man as.
Or right. Like as like this wholesome hero,
right?
Who like always does the right thing.
Yeah. He's got a tech lab and he's got all the costumes and yeah. Oh, speaking of, he already married Mary Jane and everything was going great and
right.
Yeah.
The lab was hilarious. Aunt May.
Yeah, oh man, yeah, I loved Aunt May.
Yeah, it was super good. It was super good. Like that whole sequence was just, I was like,
it's just like, and let me guess. You're from another dimension.
Yeah, right. Like, it's like nothing can faze her.
Yeah, nothing can faze her. But I guess she's already met 3 other people who showed up and were like, I think I'm from another dimension.
Right. No, yeah. That's true.
That's true. Indeed.
No, but it was pretty fun.
Okay, so any final thoughts before we give like our official score or opinion?
Right. How many webs out of 10? I think the other thing that I thought was ridiculously cool was sort of this like artistic element to him.
Right.
Where like you see him kind of doing like the stickers in the beginning, and then you see him do the graffiti wall with Uncle Aaron. And then at the end when he takes the suit and like really makes it his own.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah, that he just like takes the other Spider-Man suit and like spray paints it.
Right. So it's like
pretty cool.
It's kind of imperfect, but also like stylistically exactly right.
Yeah, totally fits him.
Yeah.
The black Spider-Man suit, always cool.
Always cool. You can't go wrong with the black Spider-Man suit.
The only other thing I'd written down as like a final thought was I think this movie does a better job with the spider sense than any other Spider-Man movie, where like they use it a lot, like it's the way they can tell who each other are. sort of as the beginning. But it also got the feeling like, oh, like the spiders, like they all just so effortlessly jump into battle and like are never really worried about whether or not they're gonna like lose or die or anything like that.
Sure.
And I feel like they do a good job of making the spider sense really obvious. Like that's the super duper power Spider-Man has. It's like this is why he's such an effective like opponent, is because like he's always like he's always able to dodge you.
Right.
Because he always knows what's about to happen.
You're exactly right, and I think that goes back to the very first point we made in this critique, is sort of that because it's an animated film, there's a way to do that better than if it's a live action.
Sure.
Because if it's a live action, I don't know if you would remember from like the original Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
There's like, they keep doing this thing where he'll like strike something against the wall and the vibrations will sort of like give him like a visualization of what's happening in the room.
Right.
And I think at the time I thought it was perfectly fine. I was also like 11.
Yeah.
But I think the issue with it is, in probably even from like a filmmaking standpoint, that concept can age.
Sure.
So finding a good way to do it so that we, the audience, kind of know what's happening. Like, it was a lot easier to put the little exclamation points over their heads, and it's just like, okay, like something's happening.
Yeah.
Over there.
I feel like they did a good job on like the Tobey Maguire version. They'll do that like sort of slow motion zoom where he's like, whoa, something's happening, and then all of a sudden it cuts back to fast motion. Good thing he took a first second there.
Right.
But like in Spider-Man Homecoming, though, I don't think they even show him having a spider sense at all.
That is fair.
You cut to the Avengers and the ship shows up and he's like, oh man, Nick, or whatever his friend's name is. Make a distraction.
Make a distraction.
Like, hey, he does have a spider sense. Well, you know.
How about that? Yeah, his hair stand up. I guess it's probably because it's the least cool looking of his powers.
I mean, I guess so, but I don't know. I really liked it in this movie because it wasn't like the worry was never, are we gonna like fail or anything? They're always gonna like,
right?
Just, like survive whatever the battle is, unless like the super collider explodes in your face. Which does happen.
If you can't put that USB drive in the correct way, which
that was sort of a goofy like pull the lever,
right,
sort of thing. Like, oh, we have to get into the thing and pull this hatch and put it in, and then we'll win.
Right, except it's like, which way does it go?
That is a funny joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Derek always has a joke where it's like USB drives have three sides, like the wrong way, and then the right way.
Right. Like you almost always do it the right way the first time, but you still test it the other way.
No.
Yeah. Okay, so on to the big question. How many webs out of 10 would you give it?
How many webs out of 10? Okay.
Yes.
I would probably give it, I'm going to give it like 8 webs out of 10. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, I think I was thinking 8.5.
8.5. Okay, so then the bigger question, is it the best Spider-Man movie? What do you think?
I just don't know. Like, I don't feel like in my mind I was able to effectively compare it to the other ones. Like, even though it's the same character, like, it didn't feel like the same kind of movie. I don't know. Like, I think for me, I go back to how much I like Spider-Man Homecoming, which I think is fantastic. And I think that Tom Holland is the best live-action Spider-Man we've seen.
For sure.
But, like, I can even go back to, like, my theater experience from the original Spider-Man with Tobey Maguire and know that I loved it.
Yeah, oh yeah, me too. So here's my thought on it.
Okay.
If you want to classify, like, an entire genre of movies as, like, if Spider-Man is a genre of movie...
Right.
Which it almost is at this point, because how many movies are there now? Like...
It seemed like 11?
like 1,000?
Yeah,
we've seen a lot of Spider-Man movies these days. So if you want to just count Spider-Man, the movie genre, I would say it's the best Spider-Man movie. But if you're just like opening it up, I would say Homecoming is the best like movie with Spider-Man. I don't know if that makes sense.
I don't think it makes sense.
I don't think it makes sense?
No. I don't follow at all.
I know. I think like as a genre movie, it's the best one of its like pure Spider-Man-ness. But like as an overall movie experience, Spider-Man Homecoming still wins for me.
Oh! Okay.
Does that make sense at all?
Yes, and okay. I think it's almost exactly what I've been trying to articulate with it, is that like the fact that Spider-Man Homecoming lives inside of a bigger universe that I also love, like it has more impact.
Right.
It's like, so the actions of that movie matter, like it radiates well beyond just the confines of that 2 hours. Whereas like, okay, that's a fair way to put it. Whereas Into the Spider-Verse, it's like if you were just going to watch it as like single selections,
right,
maybe it wins.
Okay. Well, okay.
Is that what you were trying to say?
I guess so. Yeah, pretty much. I guess there's like a pure Spider-Man experience. I think this is like, it's hard to beat that.
Right.
Yeah. But I still don't think, like, if all you want out of your movie is Spider-Man, this is the one for you. If you want more out of it, I think Spider-Man Homecoming is a better movie overall. But I don't know if that makes sense. It makes sense in my mind. I hope I'm articulating it okay to you, the viewer.
I have no idea. I think I've gone back and forth about whether or not I agree with you. I think if I were writing down a list of my favorite movies, Spider-Man Homecoming would come above Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, I will say that too.
Yes,
just
okay.
In general, yes. I agree with you there. Spider-Man Homecoming, still king.
Guys, we have to give another huge thank you to today's sponsor, Loot Crate.
Yes, you may have noticed that we've been wearing some excellent pins throughout the whole video. Mine is of Red Skull.
Mine is of Spider-Man.
For some reason, that one's like 2 months old, whatever. You'd think you'd use the most recent one.
Hey, it was on brand for today.
Well, whatever.
Let's dive into the box. This is this month's box with a theme layer.
So, lots of evil stuff.
Evil. Up next on this episode of Super Carlin Brothers, we're gonna play Will It Bookend?
Well, obviously this video will, because we opened it with some Loot Crate stuff and now we're closing it with what was inside the box, including this Thanos bookend. Look at this. Does it work?
Woo! Let's put it to the test.
It works!
Yes!
I think we did it the wrong way, though.
Speaking of Thanos, he's also featured on this totally awesome poster.
You got it upside down.
This totally awesome poster.
Yeah, so you got Thanos and Loki and some other guys who I don't know who they are. But look, there's a Hydra thing. I know that one because it also came with a Hydra pin. Look at this.
You're wearing 2 pins.
You aren't.
And speaking of Loki, it also came with these great shirts.
Dude, yours is upside down again. Ta-da!
Check this out. Long sleeves and everything.
Well, now that I got the shirt on, I'm not surprised that I was Hydra Employee of the Month.
Is that a mug?
It is a mug.
Do you know what that means we have to play?
Will it mug?
Will it mug? It totally does.
Wow.
How about it?
Excuse me, I'm the Hydra Employee of the Month. I feel like you're sending the wrong message.
Look, dude, if the sip fits.
But guys, if you want to be the Hydra Employee of the Month and get your hands on some of this sweet, sweet Loot Crate gear, all you have to do is head over to lootcrate.com/SuperCarlinBrothers and use promo code Carlin to get 10% off your first order. Next month's theme is Headquarters.
HQ, huh?
That's right.
Ooh, I bet there'll be some cool stuff in there. Again, guys, thank you, Loot Crate, for sponsoring today's video. If you want 10% off your first order, go to lootcrate.com/SuperCarlinBrothers, promo code Carlin. It's my mug. For our question of the day, I think you know what it's going to be. Where does it rank amongst your favorite movies or Spider-Man movies, or what did you think, or have you seen it yet, or are you gonna go see it now? Leave all of your thoughts in the towel section down below.
And if you want to see even more Spider-Man action from us, you can check out this video right here to see what's the deal with Spider-Man and American flags.
Yeah, what is the deal?
Yeah, well, you just click the video and then you...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you know.
I wish that would work. I wish my hand could go in front of the thing.
Yep.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.